he had more humility and more humanity and more bravery and more just raw, the word is raw alone. Pryor is just pure.
It so moves an audience to find a performer who shares their vulnerability with you. And Richard had that immediacy of contact.
For the first time on television, Richard Pryor.
In the 60s, most everybody was doing white bread comedy, meaning comedy that would be presentable for television. America was a happy place, and everybody was determined to keep it light.
If you look at Richard's first performance on national TV, he talks about basically growing up in a tenement with this interracial group of people, and it's like he's growing up in a New York apartment building that's very colorful, lively.
My mother's Puerto Rican, and my father's Negro, and we lived in a real big Jewish tenement building in an Italian neighborhood. Every time I go outside, the kids say, "Get him, he's all of them."
And it's a complete invention. He can't talk about how he grew up in a set of brothels run by his grandmother. If he were to do that, it would have been death. You know, it wouldn't have been comedy as America construed it at that time.
In the early years, Richard did a lot of fabrication on a lot of his comedy because his own history was so checkered and so unpleasant. He wasn't proud of it.
As a kid who grew up in the streets of Peoria when his mother was a whore. His dad was a pimp. Come on. Guys beat the shit out of him. What did that do? Eliminated all the bullshit. Richard had a view of life that was always based on truth. You distort the truth, you make fun of the truth, you bend the truth, you twist the truth, you run over the truth, but there has to be truth in it.
Richard, his whole thing was at that time Bill Cosby, because Bill Cosby was the most successful black comedian in America, even though not considered black. He was not a hood guy. So Richard, even though being from the hood, unhooded himself.
Let's say hello to Bill Cosby. I'd just like to take time out here and talk about athletes and television commercials. I watch a lot of advertising on television commercials. Really funny. Aftershave. It's wonderful. It's cool. And it's smooth. That's a lie.
Miss Jones, what do you think about wash day detergent?
I like it. I love it. I use it all the time. I brush my teeth with it. I wash my hair with it. Send a check.
Performing in front of Whitey in that time, in that society. We want a clean black man. We want a black man to show everything's perfect. I have a family. Look, I'm better than the rest of the black people. Do you know what it feels like for a black comic to walk out on the stage and not see his people in the audience? Check is good, but goddamn, that ride from that venue home is tough. You know, pretty sure that's how he felt as a black man.
Richard existed in a place that was transcendent, and it was like gills on a fish. He was able to breathe, and as soon as he's off stage, he really didn't know how to operate in the world. Drugs allowed him to be something other than himself with a memory of that childhood. I mean, Richard should have been in therapy, but he wasn't. He found drugs.
One of the most brilliant comedy minds in existence, and a man who many consider the funniest man alive, Mr. Richard Pryor.
When I first started representing Richard, I was told by many people that this is a troubled artist and you should stay away from him. But everybody knew he was a great comic and knew that he was a very, very funny person and knew that he was destined, if only he could behave, for stardom.
MICK is my favorite of that whole period of movies. You know, just all these insane things
that happened in the making of the movie that were in some ways more interesting than the movie itself. Pryor got upset with the producer of the movie and decided that he was just going to go take this cat out. He talks about like putting a pool ball or something in a sock, and he goes to this guy's room and he opens the door and the guy's got a loaded .45 sitting on his desk like he was expecting it. But I mean, it was just insane.
I started hanging out at the Comedy Store. That's how I got to meet Letterman and Robin. One night I followed Richard out into the parking lot, and he turned to me and said, "What the do you want?" I said, "Well, you do a television special." He said, "Sell it." They got in the car and drove away. That was it.
Network television in the late 1970s was very conservative. Richard Pryor is not conservative by any stretch of the imagination. But even with those challenges, there are still some great skits. Richard Pryor playing the nation's first black president speaks to the fact that in 1977, the idea of a black president was still a joke.
Mr. President. Yeah, Mr. President. Now, your predecessor, you know, President Carter, now his mother was a nurse before
What is your question about, sir?
My question, I'm leading up to my question. The question is about your mother, if you want to be famous.
When NBC offered Pryor this variety show, he wanted young, interesting talent, and Paul Mooney was really responsible for putting together that ensemble.
From the first day that America recognized him as a stand-up comic, the critics knew he had something unique. Who else would have the nerve to do Bill Cosby's entire routine?
Paul is a great conceptual guy, wonderful in concept, and a great eye for talent. Look at the cast: Sandra Bernhard, Robin Williams, Jimmy Martinez, Tim Reed, all wonderful actors, all in their own right.
Mr. Mojo's, I got a bad arm. I can't move it. He got a bad arm, and he can't move it. Let Mojo hit it.
My baptism in the show business was a Richard Pryor show. I thought that's how all shows were done. No, that's not how it's done. You got to do what you want to do and got away with what you want to do because that guy had your back.
They're paying me $2 million to do this movie. Do you believe it? My grandmother didn't make that all her life, and she's a better woman than you are, man. You want to talk about this movie? Yeah, sure. What do you want to know about this movie? Stir crazy. Sucks. Richard Pryor's a criminal. I come from criminal people. I will be a criminal. I didn't get caught yesterday buying 7 pounds of cocaine in front of 8 policemen.
And the feds were on the set because he was purchasing from Hell's Angels, and he had no clarity. I mean, he was going on the drug.
I don't think people realize how many drugs, how many cigarettes, how many drinks he had. He'd say, "See this bowl of Coke? This is more than you'll make in the next 2 years." He said that all the time.
But of course, those loud voices of commerciality prevailed when they shouldn't have. Everyone was telling him, this is when you got to do another concert film. We ended up going back to Los Angeles. It was too soon. The craziness started, the late nights and cocaine all night, and shooting live on Sunset turned out to be a problem.
Relax. Calm down. Because I feel the tension from y'all. Y'all want me to do so well. I want to do so well for you. But let's relax and enjoy whatever the happens.
While it was going on, it was a damn nightmare. He walked off stage the first night.
I remember the first time I did freebase, I burnt my bed up. The bed's on fire.
The Sunset Strip, in my mind, is really the last strong piece of material he did.
So what's that? Richard Pryor running down the street.
Live on the Sunset Strip, you sort of see him in this mode where he's transitioning from the edgy Richard Pryor to the more user-friendly.
I've been wrong. I got to regroup my shit. I mean, I said, I ain't gonna never call another black man
He makes this pronouncement that he's not going to use the word again. When he said it, people were like, whoa, Richard Pryor without the word is kind of like Muhammad Ali without boxing gloves.